Today is day 7 of the 8 days to Heartiness.
We are sitting down today, chilling out, because today is...
Emotional wellness. Too much enthusiasm, huh? How about emotional wellness? Emotional wellness.
Okay. Oh, shoot. I'm going to
My ear's itchy. Okay, try that again. That's part of being emotional well, by the way.
By the way, it is. We are going to discuss several items that we feel might help each one of us to become emotionally well.
I call them tactics.
Stress is very much a part of everyone's life. We have sad stress and bad stress and fearful stress, and we have really excited stress.
No matter how fast you run, you won't run away from stress.
No. And even really good stress is still stress. Fight or flight, you can't run away from it unless it's a saber-toothed tiger.
Could be cyberbullies too.
I'll tangle my tongue there. The very first tactic that we want to talk about is to brighten our outlook.
It's a great start.
Fill our glass half full instead of picking it up and saying it's half empty. By the way, that's something we can choose to do, don't you think, Jim?
But it is. It's a mindset for sure.
Right. I mean, even when we're having the worst things happen, which is the next thing. If you've had a death in the family, if you've had a severe injury, if you've had an illness, if you've had surgery. Did I say that twice?
Could be.
Could be. Every one of those things can really cause you to be depressed because of your limitations, because of what it's caused into your life. They're huge, huge, huge things. So don't think that I am making anything light of those things.
Well, everybody knows. I mean, they've all experienced, so it's not a doubt.
Yeah. So when those things happen to you, you need to give yourself permission to grieve. If you are a family member, you give that person permission to grieve and be able to figure out where they stand now in their life.
Yeah, none of this buck up, you can get over it, just decide to kind of thing. It takes time. And now you can decide to let it affect you more than it needs to. Certainly, we're not suggesting that. But grieving is to recognize that it happened and allow the grieving process to go through its process. Whatever that path is for you, go through it, deal with it, experience it. It's rough, it's bad, it's going to happen.
I could go over steps in that, underneath that area, but most of those steps that I'm going to give to you, we're going to give to you, are covered in every area of stress in our lives. So I have done a couple of videos, we have done a couple of videos on sleep, and sleep is super important. I'll put those videos coming up here. And why is sleep so important?
Because if you don't get sleep, you're sleepy all the time.
Your body doesn't heal, it's just not a good thing. I could go over all the steps to it, but I've already done those videos.
And by sleep, we mean real genuine rest, where it's quality sleep, to where your body's doing the recuperation, the rejuvenation that it needs to do. Enough of it.
It's a little bit easier in the winter because we go to sleep because it's really dark outside.
Yeah, it's tough when it's light to sleep.
So, at least for us it is, because we like to be up and doing.
Yes.
Another thing is that we need to exercise because that helps stress too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Your body is it's easier to relax when you're in good shape.
Well, yesterday I had just something that just irritated me pretty bad, and I'm like, okay, I'm going outside now and doing some chores, spend some time with the chickens, walk around a little bit. I came in like a new person.
Yep.
Yeah. This next area is an area that is so important, and Jim's going to talk about it in regards to when you were teenagers, but it has to do with having friends and the importance of them.
You may not remember back to when you were a teenager, but I'm certain that you've seen children or grandchildren when they got to that point of being that young teenager, and they were transitioning from being a member of your family to actually seeing themselves as an individual and wanting to have friends, and their friends became more important to them than their family. I mean, that doesn't happen to everybody, but for most of us, that's what goes on when we're teenagers. We recognize the absolute beauty and wonder of having those friends and the close relationships and the dependence on them and the interaction that we have with them. And then as we get into young adulthood, that may continue, but it starts to diminish until we begin to have our own families, we begin to be busy, and we don't have as much time for the friendships, and they wane, they go away, and then we find ourselves getting older and older, and we don't have friends. But the need, the value, the joy,
the importance,
it's still there at every age, and especially as we get a little bit older, to where we don't have as much family going on, perhaps. Friends are important to us, just as important as they were when we were those young teenagers. And we need to keep that in mind and foster those friendships. It's a little harder because pretty much everybody we know is in the same boat we are, not used to be having
sharing their life.
Yes.
Sharing their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's harder. We get all kinds of inhibitions and habits and cultural norms.
I don't want anybody to know about me. We also have done a video on the importance of friendships as you grow older, which we'll put up there.
Anyway, it's important.
Also important to do things in your life that are pleasurable. We were acknowledging that we do lots of good things, but we have to make ourselves do something that is pleasurable, that is fun for us to do.
Something we genuinely enjoy.
Yes. Take a class, learn an instrument, go for a walk. Go see a movie you didn't allow yourself to go see because you didn't feel like you had time.
The next area is being mindful. Very important one. This can help a lot.
Well, and there's so many different ways to look at it. As you're getting older, I truly believe that it can help us to counter dementia. So when
there's research in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, when I take my glasses off and set them down, I need to be mindful of what I did, that I have a place, that I know what I'm doing, so that I'm not just having to go look. And it's not just being able to find things, but it's being able to do things deliberately, to understand why we are doing things and to do them with our minds intact for that.
Yes. You know, I'm sure many of you can identify with having placed something somewhere you don't know where it is, and the amount of time that you spend looking for those items, or in the case of having done something, not remembering exactly what it was or what the outcome was. You know, we do a lot, but we don't always pay attention to what we're doing.
A few other things that are important that we do mindful is to breathe. Take deep breaths and allow ourselves to do that to cleanse our body. It also, when we eat, to eat mindfully. That's so important that we allow that to happen.
We Westerners are horrible at those two.
Oh, my word.
We're shallow breathers, which is not good from a health perspective, and we eat functionally. You know, we get the job done, and instead of taking the time to enjoy our food and digest it properly. So we really add to our problem culturally.
In a summary, it doesn't matter what we eat. It matters what we eat, but we have a lot of people who will say to us, but I'm eating right and I'm exercising and I'm not losing any weight. There is a hormone called cortisol, and the cortisol is important in our bodies, but when we get stressed, it kicks off, and it kicks off adrenaline, and it kicks off epinephrine, and it kicks off that fight or flight mode, and it makes the insulin go to work the same way it does if we are eating carbohydrates or any food, but an excess of carbohydrates. And so we get that middle, that muffin top, that belly around comes from stress also. So understand that that's why we talk about eating, exercise, and emotional wellness has to be a trio for them all to work together.
It's like a three-legged stool.
It is.
You take away one of the legs, you're going to fall down.
We want you to remember to have your glass half full. Allow yourself to grieve if you have a life-changing event happen to you. Find friendships and nurture them. Get enough sleep and go through your life mindful of what it is that you're doing. We hope that you share and like, and we appreciate everyone who is following this and hope that it is giving you something in your life to think about. It is just a smidget part of what the 12 weeks to Heartiness is.
Smidget.
Smidget.
I like that word.
Turning into 8 weeks to Heartiness by the beginning of the year. If you purchase the 12 weeks to Heartiness, you get the 8 weeks to Heartiness. In one of the parts of emotional wellness, we often all have things happen in our life where life seems like it's upside down, and we are trying to figure out how to be up. It reminded me of an article that I wrote in the book that I've written called How to Be Up When Your World is Down. The book is called Voices from My Heart. I'll put a link down below. It's also available. And it's all about how to deal with depression, anxiety, emotional wellness, being a caregiver for someone, and just what happens when we start to grow older. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.